someone exploit you during the hardest time of your life? I thought my husband's best friend was saving my marriage while Jake was deployed overseas. Instead, Marcus was systematically destroying it, and I didn't realize until it was too late. Jake left for Afghanistan 3 months prior to everything, and his paranoia from his first deployment was already eating at our relationship. He kept asking who I talked to, and what I did all day with Emma, our 3-year-old. Marcus offered to help with repairs and emergencies, since he works from home doing IT stuff. Jake actually encouraged it, saying Marcus was like a brother to him. The first red flag should have been how Marcus asked detailed questions about my daily routine and when I was alone, but I thought he was just being thorough about helping. When Jake's video calls started dropping constantly, I was grateful Marcus offered to fix our internet. He spent an hour messing with the router, and suddenly everything worked better. What I didn't know was he had just gained access to monitor everything I did online. Marcus started showing up with coffee in the mornings, always with some legitimate reason like checking if the faucet repair held up or bringing Emma new toys. He would stand way too close when showing me things on my laptop and his hands would brush mine unnecessarily. I told myself it was just friendliness, but something felt wrong about how his eyes followed me around the room. During our second week, Jake called less frequently, and when he did, he seemed suspicious, asking if anyone had been helping me and why I looked tired. I mentioned Marcus had been fixing things, and Jake's expression got weird, but the call dropped before I could explain. Marcus started staying for dinner, bringing wine to help me relax after long days with Emma. He would ask about my feelings and listen so intently when I talked about feeling invisible as a military wife, like I was disappearing into just being Jake's wife and Emma's mom. When I finally realized he was recording these conversations on his phone, he claimed he wanted to remember everything to tell Jake later. The photos started innocently enough with Marcus taking pictures of Emma playing or me cooking dinner, supposedly to send to Jake, but I noticed he would delete some immediately, and when I asked why, he said some were blurry. When I tried to change our Wi-Fi password, Marcus physically blocked me from the computer, saying it would just cause problems for Jake's calls. His voice had this edge to it I had never heard before, and he stood so close I could feel his breath on my neck. The military wives in our community started treating me differently, and I couldn't figure out why, until I overheard Marcus telling Sarah from next door that he was concerned about my mental state, and Jake had asked him to keep an eye on things. He was positioning himself as the caring friend worried about the struggling military wife. Marcus started documenting everything with his camera, taking photos when Emma had tantrums, and the house was messy, or when I looked exhausted after sleepless nights. Jake's calls became interrogations about who I talked to and what I did, and I realized Marcus was feeding him information, but twisting it to sound suspicious. When my neighbor Mike helped carry groceries, Marcus took photos and told Jake I seemed to be getting close with the neighbor. The breaking point came when I found Marcus's notebook in his car filled with detailed observations about my routine, Jake's responses to different information, and plans for what to tell Jake next. There were pages of notes about my vulnerabilities and how to exploit Jake's existing paranoia from PTSD. When I confronted Marcus about it, he didn't deny anything, but said he was protecting me from Jake's paranoia, and that Jake was already convinced I was having an affair, so why fight it? He grabbed my phone when I tried to call Jake and told me Jake was on a communications blackout for 2 weeks anyway. He said any evidence I tried to present would just prove I was having a breakdown and becoming paranoid. Full story on channel, linked below.